This video was created by AMP, an advertising and multimedia production. In Southern California, the Department of Transportation, better known as Caltrans, had a settling problem on the section of the 55 freeway at the Catella Avenue off-ramp approach and departure slabs for the Orange Avenue overcrossing. Uretek and Eaglelift were used by the primary contractor to correct this problem. To successfully complete this project, a local professional traffic control company was used. Minari Traffic Control worked together with local law enforcement to quickly and safely close the 5-lane freeway and provide a detour route for the traveling public. To minimize the inconvenience to commuters, this project was done on the weekend at night when the traffic volume was at its lowest. Uretek employees and equipment were ready and waiting. Once a safe working environment had been provided, Uretek set up light towers and other equipment needed to complete the job. As an apparent result of subgrade failure underneath the departure slab, the vehicles that were traveling approximately 65 miles an hour were dropping down and hitting the front end of their cars on the asphalt area just beyond the departure slab. Under the direction of Caltrans structural engineers, Uretek was asked to raise the low spot of the departure slab to nearly 3 inches higher than its existing elevation. To achieve this, small holes were drilled and string lines were pulled to show the desired level grade. An electronic auto-leveling laser was also used to transmit a laser beam to several different electronic receivers that were placed in the lifting area. A vertical air-powered jackhammer drill was used to make small holes about the size of a nickel, approximately 2 feet deep. A smaller electric-powered pneumatic drill was then used to increase the depth of the hole and remove any remaining debris. Small fittings were then hammered securely into the holes. This gives the liquid resin polymer injection guns a firm connection. A large truck holds the Uretek material and pumping equipment and is monitored by a highly trained employee who will deliver the material to the groundmen as they begin the injections for the lifting process. Along with lasers, sensors, string lines, and other highly sensitive gauges, reference objects are also used as visual aids to the progression of the lifting process. As the injection process begins, a chemical reaction deep below the surface of the concrete starts the lifting. The tens of thousands of pounds of steel reinforced concrete, aggregate base, and dirt slowly begin to rise. The injected material finds its way to the path of least resistance, ensuring that any voids that were created by the original failure are filled and lifted. In an open air environment, the Uretek material will expand and harden much differently than when it is under the extreme pressure of the heavy material that is being lifted. Beneath the surface, the consistency of the material is much like that of a very heavy bowling ball. It has the ability to lift over 5,000 pounds per foot. It is estimated that in order to lift the carpool lane, 4 mainline lanes, the ramp gore area, the 2 lanes on the off-ramp, and both shoulders will take approximately 6,500 pounds of raw material. The initial lift will require 4 injection guns to simultaneously lift the massive concrete panels to prevent cracking. The material that is being injected will also find its way under the adjoining asphalt surface. this area will also be lifted. During the course of construction on this project, there was an unanticipated downpour of rain. Because the lifting is below the surface, the heavy rain was not a problem. If this had been a typical removal and replacement of the departure slab, this would have been a disaster for the contractor and the thousands of cars that make the morning commute to work. After a short 15-minute delay, Uretek was back to work. Once the engineers were satisfied with the final elevation of the concrete panels, additional holes were drilled in many locations where more injections were required. These additional injections will ensure a stable foundation was provided with no additional lifting. Once this was completed, the entire surface was checked for level. Due to the extreme elevation increases in the concrete departure slab, the adjoining asphalt area required additional lifting. Because asphalt is typically less thick than concrete and extremely flexible, a typical injection depth could cause an uneven or bubbled surface. In this situation, the professional expertise and knowledge of an experienced Uretek on-site foreman was used. Specially designed steel rods were driven an additional 5 feet deep with closer spacing between locations. Lifting from this depth causes the uplifting of a much larger surface area and with greater uniformity. After one final elevation inspection from the Caltrans engineer, the crew members began the cleanup process. A typical removal and replacement of the departure slab to correct this kind of problem would have impacted the traveling public for up to 6 different 8-hour shifts and could cost as much as 3 times the amount of the injection lifting. The Uretek lifting process on the departure slab was completed from start to finish in just under 6 hours. After putting away the remaining tools and equipment, the crew can leave the job with the satisfaction of another job well done. This video was created by AMP, an advertising and multimedia production.